Hello everybody, it's Brian here, back at it. I haven't made a video in, I think, 10 or 11 days. We're still on the move, although it seems like we have about 3.5 weeks until the reno is done. Then we'll be back home, and I'll be reunited with records and whatnot. So today, I guess we'll call this recent finds for early June. I'm going to talk about 4 compact discs that I found in a thrift shop, 1 record that I got in a thrift shop, and then 3 other records that I found in regular record stores. So let's get going. So the first is from a series of compact discs called Classic Alternatives. This is volume 3. I have the first 2 volumes in my collection, and I've had them for 30 years, I guess. This came out in 1995 on SPG Music, a label we will circle back to in a moment. And this is a compilation in the series. There's a volume 4, by the way, which I also don't have, but I would buy it if I saw it. Anyway, this has a collection of songs that were very important to me from the early days of this radio station I listened to in Toronto called CFMY, which I've mentioned before, and I'm going to mention again in a few moments. Really excellent stuff here. Here's the inside. And so let me tell you what's on here. I won't mention every song, but for example, Love Like Blood, the 12-inch version from Killing Joke. Fool's Gold by the Stone Roses. Driving Away from Home by It's Immaterial. That's a terrific song. Romeo Void singing A Girl in Trouble. Then we have other tracks you might know. Dancing with Tears in My Eyes by Ultravox. We have Under the Milky Way from The Church, arguably their most famous track, I would guess. A couple songs I'm not thrilled on, like Dance Society and Euro Gliders, but they're okay. Strange Advance, the extended single mix of We Run, which is a phenomenal song, and it will come up in a future video. We have Fade to Grey, the 12-inch version from Visage, and the elongated dance party dub mix of Homo Sapien by Pete Shelley. I didn't list them all, but you'll get the idea. This is when CFMY, from the time when CFMY was a great station, you would hear all these songs on that radio station. And so I was happy to find this. I've been thinking, in my mind, I felt that I would buy this if I ever saw it. I just never saw it anywhere, so I'm happy to find that. Now I will look for number 4. Weirdly, right next to it, or right underneath it, was another CD that I've been looking for a very long time, also from the same era. It's from another series called Hardest Hits. It's Hardest Hits Volume 5. I have the first 4 Hardest Hits compact discs, and I bought them when they came out, but for some reason, number 5, I didn't buy it in 1994, also on SPG Music. I guess I did. I don't know what happened. I missed it entirely, which is weird. And this also contains really interesting songs that, I guess if you go back to the first Hardest Hits release, they were definitely songs that in some cases were hard to find on vinyl. And then they included, in many cases, remixes or dance mixes or extended mixes of things that were maybe hard to find or not on the original albums. Now, I do have some vinyl versions of these, but just to give you an example, by the way, I should show you the disc. And you'll note that the insert is pretty much the same as the other. And so on here we have tracks like First, Last, For Everything by Your End Games. Now that was a track that was very difficult to find on vinyl, I believe. Whistle Down the Wind by Nick Hayward. We have a track called Melody from Boys Brigade. Boys Brigade was a local band fronted by Malcolm Byrne, who's been a long time Daniel Lanois collaborator. And oddly enough, the first and only Boys Brigade album was produced by Geddy Lee of Rush. The best China Crisis song, in my opinion, Working with Fire and Steel. We've got Peter Godwin, Comset Angels, Visage, a different track, Pleasure Boys. The Flying Pickets, we have Zig Zig Sputnik. What else? Thomas Lear. Jet Town by SSQ. That's a great song. Jet Boy, Jet Girl, the club mix from Elton Motello. So weirdly, these were sitting, as I mentioned, one was on top of the other. 2 CDs that I've been interested in having for years, and there they were for $1.99 each. And so I bought them. And then very close by was this other compilation called The Ongoing History of New Music Volume 2. You may know the podcast called The Ongoing History of New Music, hosted by Alan Cross. You'll see 102.1 The Edge, which is the rebranding of CFNY. And to be honest, the radio station has never been as good as it was when it was the spirit of radio. But Alan was an on-air personality on that station. I think he's from Winnipeg. And he's been on air on other stations. He's part of the Chorus group of radio stations, I guess, that owns everything. And so this is volume 2. I don't have volume 1. And in the liner notes here, it says that there will be a volume 3, but it's my understanding there never was a volume 3. But let me give you a sense of what's on here. We have the 12-inch remix of Love Cats from The Cure. We have a Smiths track, This Charming Man. The Ramones, I Want to Be Sedated. Orange Crush by R.E.M. Rain by The Cult. One Step Beyond from Madness. Listen to the Radio by Pucka Orchestra. Now, that is a cover version of, in my opinion, the greatest Tom Robinson song that he ever wrote. Fantastic track. This cover version is actually really good. This Is How It Feels from the Spiral Carpets. Really great track. Middle of the Road from Pretenders. Don't Go from Yaz. Lips Like Sugar, Echo and the Bunnymen. Blue Peter, a local band. Radio Silence. The singer died a few years ago. Ministry, Every Day's Halloween. The Jesus and Mary Chain, Head On. Call It Love by Images in Vogue, a well-known Canadian synthy pop band. And then Devo with Whip It. This is a really great collection. I guess if I ever saw volume 1, I would buy it. So that's really cool. From a different thrift shop, but also the same price, I guess. These are $1.99. Is an album that I first heard about on the channel run by Steve, formerly All the World is Stage, currently A is for Alice, B is for Bob. I'll say R is for Richard. I think one other channel I watched mentioned this album, but I think I first heard about it on Steve's channel. So I'm going to say thank you to Steve for mentioning this record because I love it. This is Richard Hawley, Cole's Corner from 2005. I believe this is his third full-length record. He's a singer-songwriter from Sheffield. Was a member of the touring band when Pulp went on tour. When you read about this guy, you'll often see comparisons to Scott Walker. Other people mentioned are Roy Orbison and even later Elvis Presley, and I can see why he's got that baritone voice. The album is a bit mellow. Like when I first heard it, I thought, oh, this is interesting. But his arrangements are excellent. His voice is excellent. The way he gets it across is really, really great. Unfortunately, the teeth in here are broken, but that's what the CD looks like. And there's a booklet in here with some photography and liner notes. I think this is fantastic. I listened to it on YouTube. I think it's brilliant. You'll see there's some accolades on the front here from places like The Guardian, The Times, Word, Mojo, and Q, and also noted as being an album of the year from this nationwide Mercury Prize. So this is terrific. I would buy the vinyl if I ever saw it, and if I ever saw anything else by Richard Hawley, I think I would pick it up. So really great. Now, in thrift shops, I don't really find many records these days, but for some reason, I guess it's just one of those coincidences, I found something I wanted. There are a couple other things that were actually better than usual. Not that I'm a Culture Club fan. There was a Culture Club record, but it was beat up, and I probably wouldn't have bought it anyway. There was a Bryan Adams record I already own. I'm not a giant Bryan Adams fan, but it was interesting that it was there. And right beside that, we have this record from Kirsty MacColl from 1989, her second record. Weirdly, there was a big gap. Her first record came out in 1981, and this is Kite from 1989. If you don't know her, you might know her. I'm sure many people already know this. She appeared on the Pogues track, Fairy Tale of New York, which you may know. Another one of her big hits was a cover version of Billy Bragg's New England. So you may have heard those if you haven't heard solo stuff. I actually don't own until now, any solo records or CDs from Kirsty MacColl. But I had to buy this one. 2 tracks on here were written by Johnny Marr. And I think it's pretty good. Now, I've only streamed parts of it because, as I mentioned, I don't have my record player with me or turntable with me. But unfortunately, she died a really tragic death a few years ago in Cozumel. It's horrifying. If you look at her Wikipedia entry, you'll see details of what happened in a boating accident. So really sad. And for a thrift shop record, it's in pretty good shape. Now, my history of thrift shop records is I found some pretty good things, but often when I find a good record and it looks in good shape, there's a ton of surface noise. This is dusty, so we'll see how it goes. But I haven't had great luck because sometimes I found fantastic records and it's just so much surface noise. So we'll see how this one sounds. But I was a little surprised to see it. And I paid $2 49 cents, which is not bad, because this particular thrift shop often marks things up to ridiculous amounts. You'll see a really beat up copy of like the Doobie Brothers and it'll be $10 or something. Next is this oddball record here from Tony J, which is really, it's a band, but it's led by a guy called Mike Ramos. If I got all this right, it's a little unclear to me because I'd never heard of them before I bought this record. Total blind buy. But I bought it because in the bin, there was a sale bin. It was marked at $9.99, but had another sticker for $2.99 over that. So they're trying to unload it. So it was $3 for this record. The cover is a bit, I don't know, serial killerish there. I don't know. Strange. It's a lo-fi pop band, and this is called Perfect Worlds from 2023. So a really recent record on SLR. I don't know much about them. Now, I have streamed about half of this, or listened to about half of it, and it appeals to me. It is in places really ambient and, as I say, lo-fi, really compelling. I can see why some people wouldn't like it. It doesn't seem to have radio-friendly tracks, but I haven't been all the way through it yet. I think I read something that compared it to Galaxy 500. I don't know much about Galaxy 500, so I don't know if that's accurate or not. There is a insert in here with some lyrics, and then this seems to be an image of the band. So there's a female lead singer. It's blurry though, but anyway, all songs by Tony J, Slumberland Records, mastered by Mikey Young, who's that famous Australian guy from Perth. So Michael Ramos, Kelly Faber, Cameron Baker, Alex Harper, and additional vocals by Karina Gill. So I like this. It is early on. Of course, I've only heard part of it, but it does appeal to me. And it's on this white vinyl with an upside down label. So pretty cool. Great price. It makes you wonder, but maybe it wasn't being moved. Maybe no one had heard of them before. So anyway, I'll put that back together later. There's a download card in there, which I haven't used yet. And then I went to a record store that I hadn't been to since before the pandemic, but possibly 5 years, maybe more. It's not really one I go to very frequently because it's inconvenient. I just never get there. And it's actually a really cool shop, though. It's heavily curated. They, what else? They sell turntables. They refurbish things, or that kind of thing. By the way, I should tell you, it's Tonality Records if you're curious. But I made my way there and had a look around. And I was digging through the bins, and I found this record, which surprised me because it's something you never really see here. It's the Triffids, Kalinshire. So you can see they have this label on here, 1987, Canadian pressing, fantastic Australian rock pop band, which I agree with. It is their fourth record, I believe, and they're from, I think they're from Perth. Anyway, if you've ever watched the channel from Ben Rankins, you will undoubtedly have encountered this band before. On his advice, I bought Born Sandy Devotional, which I thought was terrific. And this is really good too. I have only heard, again, probably half of it, but Bury Me Deep in Love, if you want to just check it out and listen to a song, just listen to the lead-off track. I think it was the first single. If you like that, if you like David McComb's voice, you're going to like this. He died, of course, a few years ago. But yeah, I think this is really good. On the Island label here. So that is cool. So I've been on the lookout for Triffids records, but they just aren't plentiful here. And so this was a reasonably good price. Well, I think it was an excellent price, and I just decided to get it because it was right in front of me. Now we have a late record store day find. So on record store day, I was in a record store and I had this record in my hands and I was deciding whether or not I should buy it, but I had a few other things. And this is a collaboration. So one half of this collaboration is a band I used to really like and I kind of maybe just stopped following him. And the other person is an absolute favorite of mine. So, but for some reason I put it back on the shelf, I guess because I had too many things. And then I was in a store recently and it was sitting there on the shelf. I think it's more expensive than the one I had in my hand originally, but I decided to grab this. I used to have the compact disc of this record for this album and don't have it anymore, but I'm talking about Passengers Original Soundtracks Volume 1. And of course, you know that this is really a U2 record with Brian Eno. And for me, that is the critical thing because Brian Eno is a favorite artist of mine. I love everything he's done, from the ambient stuff to the more glam stuff he's done. I think he's really fantastic. And I guess when I heard this first years ago, I wasn't sure what to make of it, but I view this as almost like a Brian Eno record with U2 as a guest. I'm not sure if that's really accurate or not, but the Brian Eno fan in me decided that I should have this in my collection. And you'll see it was not cheap. So this is the 30th anniversary remastered on heavyweight 180 gram vinyl with Miss Sarajevo. Now that's the song that many people talk about as being, it's okay. I don't love that, but it has this bonus track Bottoms, which I've listened to, and I think it's actually really good. So when I listen to this, and again, I've streamed it, I recently, to remind myself, I view it as like, really it's a strange U2 record. It's almost a Brian Eno record. There's one track where Brian Eno sings on it. So I guess from my Brian Eno completionist point of view, I had to pick this up. And I haven't even opened it yet. Isn't that weird? So music by, as it says, Brian Eno, Bono, Adam Clayton, The Edge, and Larry Mullen Jr. I think Larry Mullen Jr. did not like this record. And it definitely divides fans. I've looked at some videos and looked at comments. I've looked at various things on Amazon, and people either love this or hate it, it seems. And I don't know, for me, the Brian Eno component maybe put it over the top. So I guess maybe I should open this so I can look at what's inside of it, because I haven't done that yet. So anyway, this was the last one in the bin. The only copy they had. All right, so there's 2 records. Then we have some notes there, and then we have, and of course this is, I think, based around some imaginary films, but the videos exist, and it's interesting to see them. So which one's first? I don't know. Oh, this is side C and D, so the same image, track listing. And this will be the same, I'm guessing. Side A and B, yeah. So that's that. So yeah, from my perspective, I view it. I'm listening to it as I guess a Brian Eno kind of project, but it's actually pretty good from what I've heard. I did stream the entire thing yesterday, and I listened to part of it again today, and I would say it's actually an interesting record to have, and it kind of fits in my Brian Eno world. So interesting. Somebody has said that probably the worst selling U2 record, possibly because it's called Passengers. But improvised recordings, I think there were 25 hours of improv that were reduced to this double record. Or I guess, I don't know if it was a double originally, I'm not sure. But apparently there's more stuff. Who knows if it will be released. But yeah, I think that's interesting. And that is it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.